Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a long time, but we're back. So first we have to get some exciting news out of the way. The channel has been monetized. Yes, I know. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. It has meant so much. And yeah, as you can see, the setup is very different because I have moved. This last month and a half, I've been moving. I was on a road trip. A lot has been happening behind the scenes, but I will be starting to post regularly again, so you have that to look forward to. I thought the best fitting video to make a comeback with would be the Mid-Year Book Freakout Tag, which is a tag that everybody has been doing, and I have never done because this is my first really full year back on BookTube. So I guess let's just get right into it. So from what I can find, this tag was originally created by ReadLikeWildfire and Earl Grey Books. So shout out to them for making this tag, which it's a pretty cool tag, not gonna lie. It covers a lot and I have a lot to discuss. So first we're going to get into the best book of the year so far, in my humble opinion. And the best book that I've read of the year this far, that was a mess. So the best book of the year that I've read so far, in my humble opinion, is Ray Bear by Jordan Afueko. This book is just pure magic. It captured my heart and my feelings and literally everything that I could ever want in a book was this book. So this book follows Tarisai as she is kind of commanded by her mother to kill the boy that she's destined to love, and that happens to be the boy that one of the boys that she ends up growing up with. And it's just it's so good. It's so I don't want to spoil much at all, really, because this book is so surprising in so many ways. But this book just is so filled with magic and uniqueness. I don't even know how to describe it. I've never read a book like this, and it just makes me so happy that I have this story in my life now. So yeah, I love this book. Next up is the best sequel that I've read this year. And I was looking through and I've read some sequels, but none of them came even close to doing what this book did. And that book was Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. Now this is, in her words, the kind of finale to the Grishaverse, and it definitely felt like that. This is kind of a conclusion to the entire Grishaverse series, so all of the books, Six of Crows, the Grisha trilogy, the King of Scars duology. It has a lot to deal with, a lot to juggle, and it just hits those emotional beats so well. The action was great, the emotional beats were there, it was so good. I cried. Yeah, this book just blew me away. So if you are interested in the Grishaverse, I would highly recommend sticking with it until you get to this point, and if the Netflix show does not adapt this book, I will have to fight somebody because this is what the audience deserves to see. Now, what's the best new release that I haven't read yet? I actually just got it the other day. It is a very new release. This book just has a really interesting premise, and it's got something that I've never heard of before. K-pop? What even is K-pop? Is this a thing? I don't even know. All kidding aside though, I love K-pop. A little too much. It's become one of the only things that I've been listening to recently. Some of these English language artists just honestly can't keep up. And it's gotten to the point where a big portion of my playlist is all K-pop. So it's no surprise that XOXO by Axio is one of my most anticipated reads for the year. It's got, the K-drama vibes, of which I love K-dramas as well. It's like between this trainee and a K-pop idol, and the art is just beautiful, and I don't know, I don't read a lot of romances, but in the last couple of months I've actually read quite a few, and I want to read more of them. So if you have any good romance recs, please let me know, because they're fast, they're light, they're easy, they make me happy. So I do want to try to read more of them, you know, interspersed with all the other horror, fantasy, sci-fi books that I read. And my most anticipated release for the second half of the year, of which we are technically already in, but whatever, is obviously going to be Redemptor, the sequel to the Raybearer duology. This book has a lot of things going for it, especially with the way that Raybearer ended, and I'm just so excited to see how Joanna Fuego is going to pull off the ending to this story, because honestly, I love when authors do duologies, because I don't feel like every story needs to be a trilogy, because I have read quite a few trilogies where you read the second book and you're like, did this really need to be here? So, you know, when an author has like a cut and dry duology, I love it, because it's usually straight to the point. Although some duologies should have been one book, and I'm not going to name names, but I mean, if you know, you know. So this next one, my biggest disappointment of the year. Okay. So it was for my book club, the Vintage Books and Wine Club, which I co-host with Matthew, Ace, and Tianna. We had a very contentious live show about this. There was one book that we universally didn't like. I'm not going to talk about that book here because, I don't know, I wasn't expecting much about that book. But this book I had heard so much about. And, you know, it's by an acclaimed author. Pretty much everyone on BookTube seems to love it, and I hated it. And that is The Death of Vivek Oji by Kweki Emezi. Now this book did have beautiful prose. They have a great way of writing, but the story just there are some taboos that when they're depicted, it makes me incredibly uncomfortable, because and this book just went full send on one of those things, and it just, like, honestly didn't need to be there. And also the book was pretty boring, and like, I know that's not the and then this next part isn't necessarily the fault of Kweki Emezi, because that's the story they were trying to tell, but I'm kind of sick, or not sick, but I'm kind of done with stories about queer pain. You know, it's just like, I don't know if I want to see that. You know, I feel like the world does need those stories, and that's great, because some people do need to, like, read a book to realize that, you know, like, trans non-binary people, like Vivek, you know, they exist and they go through insane trauma, and, you know, honestly, some people can't make that emotional connection in their brain until they read a fictional book, which is fucking stupid. But, you know, whatever. But just me as a queer person, I'm kind of done with reading queer pain. I don't want to read it anymore. And so honestly, like, that's a turn off too, but the spoilery thing that I'm not going to spoil, because if you want to read this book, it's well written and you can find some enjoyment in it, but it pissed me off. So yeah, disappointment. And also the worst book I've read this year. So I actually had, for this next one, the biggest surprise of the year. I actually had two of them, and they happened back to back. So it was really exciting, because I was like, ooh, because I've been reading a lot of really good books these last couple weeks. It's been nice to take a little break. Like, I love you guys, but it was nice to take a little break. So when I went on my road trip, I went from Michigan to California, so I had a lot of time in the car, and I am going to make a video about those books that I read near and around that time, which all happen to be kind of mystery horror thrillers, which is super fun. But so I was in the bookstore and I came across this book, And I was like, this is a really cool cover. Why have I heard nothing about this book? Like, the cover intrigued me. You know when you see that, like, that's why I love going to bookstores, because you'll find a book that you know nothing about and you're like, you intrigue me. And this book did that to me. And surprisingly enough, it was an author that I had read before, and I really enjoyed his last book that I read, and that is Josh Malerman. And this book, Goblin, just called to me. And if you did not know, Josh Malerman is the author of Bird Box, and I love that book. The movie was not as good, but the book was amazing. I haven't read the sequel to Bird Box just because I feel like it didn't need a sequel, so I didn't necessarily search it out. But this book, Goblin, oh my god, it was everything I wanted. So honestly, I might go back and look into more of Josh Malerman's books because I love this book so much. It is a novel in 6 novellas, as it is described. And basically, all of these novellas take place in and around the town of Goblin in Michigan, which was funny because that's where I was while I was reading it. So I was like, I vibed with it. But basically, it's very much in the vein of like a classic, like Stephen King town, like Derry, Salem's Lot, Castle Rock. Like, it's just a bad town, like just a weird town. And I loved the vibe of this book, and I do have my favorites of the stories. There was only, out of the 6, there was only one that didn't necessarily click with me, but one kind of dud out of 6, well, 7 if you include the wraparound story. It's pretty good, and just the atmosphere was so good. His writing was great. This, to me, like, when I was reading it, I was like, this feels like a horror classic. I said it. I loved this book. And even the story that didn't necessarily hit as well as the other ones, I still enjoyed reading it. So yeah, I would highly recommend picking up Goblin. It is so good. Don't read them out of order because the stories do kind of not overlap, but there are things mentioned in like stories that will come up in other stories. And so if you read them just as a book, basically, it does have a good payoff. And yeah, this book was so cool. I loved it. The second book was actually one that I read on the trip as well, but I didn't read it. I listened to it, and I listened to it with my mom. So me and my mom, because we were switching off during the road trip, we fell in love with this book. This book was so good. It was so cool because it had an audiobook, like a full cast. So there was like 6 POVs, and each one of them had a different narrator. And that book was The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This book takes place on an Irish island, and it follows this like kind of hoity-toity, very popular celebrity British couple as they are, getting married. So it takes place at the wedding on the island, and you follow different POVs from different people at the wedding, including the Irish housekeeper, and the best man, a +1, and it's just like really, really fascinating the way this kind of web unravels, or that's not the right metaphor, but you know what I mean. Because you find out at the start of the story that somebody dies, and you don't know who, you don't know how, you don't know when, you know nothing. You just know that somebody dies. Kind of like Big Little Lies, just like somebody's dead, here's all the shit that led up to it. And it was just so good. I really loved it, and listening to it I think would be the way to go for this one, just because the accents, oh my god, the accents were great. And it was just such a well-written story. The chapters were very short to listen to, so you weren't sitting in a car for 40 minutes. They clipped by really fast, and it was like, ooh, let's listen to another one. Like me and my mom, we were run into the gas station, go pee, and then like hurry back because we wanted to finish the chapter. So yeah, I love this book. It was shocking, it was surprising, it was really enjoyable. Yeah, if you're looking for a good like mystery thriller, The Guest List is one that I highly recommend. Okay, this is a hard one because for favorite new author, I feel like this year I've read a lot of new authors that have definitely become like authors that I'm going to watch out in the future and buy their books because I've really enjoyed the books that I read from them. But there was one standout, there was one that rose above the rest, and that is Jessie Q Sutanto, and her debut novel Dial A for Aunties came out this year, and I'm going to tell you, I have not had more fun with a book in I don't know how long. The way that she wrote this book was friggin' hilarious. She has one of the most unique and distinct like authorial voices that I've read in like such a long time. Like, it's so sharp-witted and engaging. And like, as soon as I finished this book, I immediately wanted to start rereading it. And I really hope, like, I know we're getting a sequel to this one. This is an entirely standalone book though, so you can read this and not have to worry about cliffhangers or anything like that. But I hope we get more books in the series with Medi and her aunties, because they were phenomenal and beautiful, and I love these characters, and it's because of the author's voice. And so that is why I will read anything that Jessie Q Sutanto writes, because I loved it. I loved it so much, and I love her, and I want to read anything by her. Okay, for this next one, favorite new character, and there's actually two of them. There's two of them. And once I read them, I couldn't get them out of my head. And they still live in my heart, and they're beautiful and amazing. And I think that I'm going to be thinking about these characters for literally forever. And soon will everybody else, because they are very, very soon being adapted into a Netflix TV show. So if you don't know what I'm talking about yet, it's Nick and Charlie from Heartstopper. And I have all 4 volumes because they're amazing. Like, I'm literally going to do a reread of these probably next week. I might do a vlog for these because I have only read, I think, a little bit of the volume 4 because I read some of the webtoon. Anyways, that's not the point. Nick and Charlie are amazing. It is so refreshing to read about a gay couple and have it be wholesome. It's like, there is drama, but it's not like super, like, I don't know, this is the most like realistic, wholesome relationship that I've ever read, like a queer relationship. It's just so beautiful. I was literally like, I literally cried reading these books, because if I had these graphic novels when I was a teenager, it would have made the world of difference. Like, it literally would have saved me at certain points in my life. And so that's why I haven't been able to stop thinking about these characters, is because, like, just knowing that very soon the Netflix show of Heartstopper is going to be released, probably next year. And then like the next generation of teenagers is going to be introduced to Nick and Charlie and have this like extremely wholesome, extremely queer show that they can look up to and love. Oh my God, like, that just makes me so happy. And like the way that Nick and Charlie support each other, like it makes me emotional, because like like not every relationship is like that. And so I think it's very important, you know, even though we do see, you know, we do need to see some like messy relationships, and some of those are fun to read about, you know, let's be honest, we love mess, but there's just something so amazing about reading a pure relationship where they both have so much love and respect for each other. And yeah, it's so wholesome. And if you have not read Heartstopper, please go read Heartstopper. It will stop your heart and then make it beating again and give you life, quite literally, because these books are amazing. Okay, next up we have the books that made me cry. I literally just mentioned it, but Heartstopper made me sob. I almost cried talking about it. It's so wholesome and beautiful and like, I cry at everything. So It's not necessarily a huge thing to make me cry, but when a book does make me cry, it makes my emotional attachment to it go like up here. So aside from Heartstopper, we have Rule of Wolves, which I already told you I cried out. This was incredibly emotional, and it was emotional because of the character writing. Leigh Bardugo knows how to write good characters and get you attached to those characters, and when they make decisions and where things happen to them, you feel it because you genuinely love these characters. And so yeah, this book was an emotional roller coaster, and I wanted to get off. But I'm glad I finished, and it's beautiful and amazing, and I loved it. The last book that has made me cry this year, or that like made me like sob, like I've cried, you know, like the single tear cry, but no, like sobbing, those two, and then this one, The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. T.J. Klune's writing is amazing. It feels so intimately personal. And just like Heartstopper, this is a very wholesome story. It follows Linus Baker as he journeys to this orphanage where these magical youth are kind of being kept away from civilization, and he's sent there to evaluate to see if they're a threat. And there is a queer love story in here, and very much a found family narrative. And it was just amazing to see a group of outcasts. I just have a thing for outcasts. And so when groups of outcasts, you know, find family in each other, that's gonna make me sob. It's just like, you know, The Long Way to a Small and Great Planet, like just in the same kind of insanely wholesome queer vein of found family. That's where this book lies, and it just has some beautiful messages about acceptance, and I was a mess when I finished this book, but it's beautiful and I loved it. Books that made me happy. So for this one, I was going through a bit of a reading slump, and I needed a break. I needed something that was going to pick me up, like get me back off my feet, back into reading. And that book was Shine by Jessica Jung. Again, what is K-pop? No. But Shine follows our main character, who is a K-pop trainee, and this book was really fascinating because there are other K-pop books that I haven't read, but I want to seek out and do read those other books because I might be obsessed a little bit. But Jessica Jung, she was a former member of the K-pop group Girls' Generation, and she wrote this book. And so this book just feels authentic in a way. Like it's definitely fiction, like it's definitely YA fiction, but there's this like air of authenticity to the way that Jessica describes things. You know, obviously not, the people are not the same, the characters are going to be different, but like you can definitely tell that she based a lot of these events and situations off of her own experiences, and because of that, I loved it. I loved it so much. It was just very fun to read. It was a very fast, I literally read it in a day because I couldn't put it down. And yeah, this book was awesome. I didn't really expect a lot going in, but I loved it, and I'm so excited for the second book, which I don't know when it's going to be coming out. I hope it's coming out soon, because it's not really much of a spoiler to say this, but this follows very much our main character when she's in her trainee kind of phase, and then book 2 is going to focus on the K-pop star kind of phase. So I'm just really interested to get that perspective from Jessica Jung. And yeah, this book just made me happy. It was light, it was fun, it was breezy, you know, it was tropey, it was romancy, but like, so what? That was awesome, it made me happy. So yeah, Shine by Jessica Jung. Okay, y'all, you are not ready for this next one. So it's the most beautiful book that I have gotten this past year. Well, if you know me, you know my brand. And that brand is Brandon Sanderson. And so last year, he did a Kickstarter for the 10th anniversary edition of The Way of Kings, and I received mine just about like a month and a half, 2 months ago. And it comes in 2 volumes, and it's beautiful. Oh my God. Here, I'm just gonna show these off for a hot sec. Oh my god, they smell amazing. Yeah, this is my favorite book of all time, and now I have it as like forever in this beautiful leather bound, and I will continue to buy the entire 10-book Stormlight Archive series in said leather bounds, and also the end papers. It's beautiful. I'm not gonna crack the spine too much because I don't love you guys like that. I don't love anybody like that, honestly. Like, I'm not cracking spines for anybody. They're my babies. They will stay nice and neat. But yes, the Way of Kings leather bounds. These are the most beautiful books that I own. Until Words of Radiance comes out. Warbreaker and Elantris are the other Sanderson leather bounds that I have, and they're also amazing. I am going to save up for the Mistborn leather bounds because I have a problem and I need every Brandon Sanderson book in a leather bound edition because these books just hit different. Okay, so what books do I need to finish in 2021? So, if you might recall, there's a series I started reading last year, and I took a break in the middle of it. I was just gonna take like, a couple months, and it's been almost a year, and I wanted to give myself time before the show came out to read all of them, because I wanted to have the full context before I watched the show, as any good fan should. Except this is the 15-book series, and Amazon just confirmed that the show is coming out in 2021, so I don't have a lot of time. And obviously, that book series is The Wheel of Time, and this is only some of them because there's so many of them. And technically, it is a 14-book series, but there's also a prequel. The prequel is short, though, so 15. And I finished the first 6 last year, which was a valiant effort. Except I have so many more to go. So what I'm going to try to do, I guess, is I'm going to try to read one of these a month, juggling with all my other reading. I try not to read more than one book at a time just because I get confused. Not like confused, but like if I get really into one book, I will read it until I'm done with it, and then by the time I get back around to the other book, I'm like, okay, what happened? Like, where am I? Because, I didn't stop at a good stopping point. I stopped like at chapter, and I'm like, what happened in the last 3 chapters? I've been away for a month and a half. So I will try to read these super fast. I don't know if I can do it. These books are almost 1,000 pages each, but we're gonna try. I'll try to read as many as I can before the show comes out because I will be doing reactions to the show because, yes, I'm very excited about the show. I do really love this series. It just takes a lot out of me, but I will finish it. I promise. I'm going to marathon them at some point. And the final tag thing is, what was my favorite book to movie adaptation this year? And there haven't been a lot because, pandemic and stuff, so there haven't been as many that have been hitting our screens as usual. However, the best one this year is not a movie, but a TV show, and that is the Shadow and Bone TV show, of which my episode reaction or my episode reviews with Austin will be coming out. I swear to God they will be. I just need to edit them and work up the courage to, but I will. But yes, this show adaptation is by far the best thing that, adaptation that has come out this year. I really enjoyed it, and honestly, it was better than the first book. So I'm really excited for season 2, which has been confirmed. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how they adapt the whole Grishaverse. So yeah, and boom, that's it. That's the end of the tag. It was a long tag. I don't know how long this video is, but I'm sorry if it's long. This is my comeback video. Let me do a long video, please. yeah, and so thank you guys so much for watching. I want to thank you guys again for supporting the channel, and I'm sorry that I got monetized and like dipped for like a month and a half, but like I really needed the mental break. But you guys will be getting more videos soon, and I will be trying to do videos more regularly, and within the next like month, 2 months or so, I do plan to start Twitch streaming because I don't know if y'all knew this about me, but I'm a gamer. But like, you know, I have a Switch, so nothing too fancy, but you know, maybe a little fancy. Like we could do some Zelda, we could do some Dead by Daylight, like, I don't know, we could do reading sprints. I don't know, I want to do more like live things with you guys, because all the live things that I've done so far have been really fun, and I want to interact with you guys more. So if you guys have any good ideas, please drop some comments, and let me know what were some of your favorite books of the year so far, what were some of your worst books that you've read so far this year, and what are you excited about for the rest of the year. I mean, we have a whole other, you know, almost five and a half months left in the year, and then it's 2022. The year goes by too fast. We're gonna stop there because I don't like thinking about time and age. Ew. The future. Stop. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope I will see you next time.